How do you do? Slightly different night and a slightly different location for me. I'm actually going to be riding on RGT very shortly, but probably not as fast as the guys we're about to watch. We're delighted to be with ECKD, E-Cycle Club Denmark. I remember commentating when they first started. They had a big convention in Copenhagen, and it was absolutely thrilling to see them start off. And look what they've developed. Probably the biggest racing league and RGT, and I mean it's a real shame that RGT is going, but we are going out with a bang, and we at West London are of the same mind, I think, as ECKD, that we want to go out. So this is something to look forward to. They had a great turnout on Tuesday. This is the second race of the series. Let's have a look at where everybody sits in the rankings after that first race. So Nick Greenhalgh, local to me, and a couple of my friends at the top there, Carl Alexander Zanderperson as well. So Nick Greenhalgh, 250 points in the league, 230 to Carl Axel. Iremia Daniel takes third spot ahead of another friend of mine, Wouter Clays. And if you're watching, Wouter, I have sent you your trophy for the West London series in the post today. Joris Sheppers, good to see you. Marino Sesson came third in our race yesterday. Just picked by Wouter Clays in heaven. Rasmus Feldball, great guy, been around for a long time, as has Christophe Contant, who I think lives down in the Rhone Valley, and Dan Cobberup, I don't actually know. Kjeld Sorensen, I assume, is one of the CKDs. I don't know, he's got deaf afterwards. Deaf was an old hip-hop term for really cool, wasn't it? So I'm guessing Kjeld is really cool. Let's have a look at the course. We've got 1 minute to go, so let's go through this quickly. 4 laps tonight. It's in Denmark, as you'd expect. It looks reasonably flat. I'm not familiar with the course. It's about 7.5 kilometres long. You can see it twists around there and goes I mean, to me, that kind of looks like it might be a bit of a river valley that it's following. I could be wrong now. I'm not familiar with the area. So as I say, 7 points onto the main road there and back down past this forested area and the lake. Now, at 7.5 kilometres, 4 times round that, I think we're going to get a fairly fast race. 33 seconds to go. I think it's packed on the starting line. Let's go over and see what it looks like. Well, here we are with the ECKD logos all over the banners. This is one of the great features of RGT, that guys like us promoting the races can put our branding all over it. We're going to miss that. 84 riders on the line. Isn't that spectacular? 13 seconds to go. A very straight start, and then that bend to the right. Let's see how it all pans out. 4 seconds, 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second. Off they go, and you have to pedal. This Joris Sheppers, I think, was getting off the front fastest. You can see these little splits. If you're further back, it's easy. It's harder to get into these, and you have to pedal hard to get into that front. Chin up a little bit, and there we go. It's beginning to form that front peloton, I think, and it's make or break for some of these riders. Go on the white there at the bottom of your screen, just dropping off, and that might be the opportunity to get into that front group missed already. We shall have to see. It's not quite tightly packed into a bunch yet. We see Christensen there at 58th, the guy in red just behind him, getting in, and I think that looks like it might be the bunch forming, although it did seem to be a bit of a split halfway through that, strung out a bit at the back. They're hitting 41.5 kph. I mean, people on the front are clearly putting down the pressure to leave as many people out of this group as possible. A couple of riders at the back of that group just clinging on there. I think with 60 riders out of the 83 hitting that front group. So 20 people effectively left behind already is the cruel way of putting it, should we say. 58th with 23 metres back to Daniel, Bolt, Pettersson. So 58 riders made the top group. Joris Sheppers on the front. I don't know if he's been on the front since the start. I certainly saw him shoot off there. Ratio Racing he rides for. See Brandt just behind the BMX. And Antoine Zubre I see there in 4th place. Casper Hederdum in 3rd at the moment. Ivan van Ber. Ratio as well, Nick Horgaard there, Wouter Clays, Cobberbutt, Bundestein, Jorgen van Beurs. Van Beurs brothers both in the, well, not quite in the top 10 because Jorgen's 11th, isn't he? But great to see those two in the top 10. I think one's just dropped out. It's Yorken by the looks of it. No, he's back. It's people shuffling around in the pack. Joris Shepherd is putting on some style at the front here. He's making sure that everybody is fighting to stay on board. It's Wouter Clay's fifth, actually. Rasmus Feldball up in there. Christophe Canton at ninth, the Frenchman. You can see the gaps. I think Joris is not getting away, and if he's not careful, he'll burn a lot of matches if he stays on the front for too long. At third place, Wouter Clay's there, as you can see in the Moonriders kit. He's just ahead of Casper Debenham. It's Anthony Dubray, now on the front. The Frenchman taking the lead ahead of Wouter Clay's. Both raced last night in the West London race, so obviously guys who have got the endurance to do race after race after race, and not only that, stay on the front. Absolutely marvellous. So 2 kilometres into this race, there's plenty to go. 27.7 Christoph, actually a good ride, mate. Well, I take my hat off to anybody that can ride and type at the same time. I certainly can't, unless he's got voice recognition, of course. I suppose in the days of AI, I shouldn't be too astounded. Christoph there, I think he lives down in the Rhone Valley. I might be wrong, but that was my recollection from last time we were in touch. Cool. So we've got 4 Danes in the top 10 at the moment. Bulgasang, Casper Hedenham, Rasmus Feldball and Koberup. I don't know Dan Koberup, so I can't give you much inside knowledge on his background. And most of the rest of them I am familiar with. So you have to remember that when you come to one of these races to commentate, you have no idea who's going to be on the start line until you get there. And unlike a football match where you've got a fairly good idea of what the squad is going to be, you never know in this sort of thing. So forgive me if I don't know all their first names, is what I would say next. Some I do, some I don't. So there's no doubt this is a quality field, though. You can see by the names that are in it that I know, that this is a good, solid. Now we can see there, if you look on your left, down to 23rd, then there's a gap back to 24th, and a little bunch there. So this group here, Soderberg, whose name I should remember, but I can't at the moment, is Per Soderberg. Of course it is. It's quite a memorable name as well, isn't it? I can't forgive myself for getting that one. Yeah, so Per Soderberg, and the rider just behind him, Lance, and probably Mathiasen there, are just coming into the fold. This is the back of the first group, effectively. Sorensen there at 23rd, probably falling off that group now, 12 metres behind. You can see the effect on the front. Neil Walker there, running for OTR UV. And in fact, it's his fault that I have now to ride our team's TT, because he's got the he's got the smart trainer in his household, and his wife was meant to be riding for us in West London's TTT shortly. And as I say, she wasn't scheduled to ride, but somebody dropped out and she couldn't take his place, so it came down to me. So this is a halfway stage around the lap. Good to see you out there riding, Neil. So this is the halfway stage in the first lap, 3.75 kilometres gone. As I say, 7.5 kilometres per lap, and this is 4 laps. If you look at the terrain at the bottom, we've gone over the only sort of hard bit, if I can put it that way. You can tell by the colours on the terrain at the bottom. It runs along the bottom of your screen. The green bits are sort of reasonably flat. Blue bits are downhill, and red bits are steep uphill. The darker red or the darker blue they are, the more the gradient. It's as simple as that. And you can see it undulates a little bit. There's little bits where they have slight gradients. It's plus 1.3 at the moment. Well, it depends which screen you're looking at, I suppose, doesn't it? But for the guys on the front now, it's just dropped down. And the guys further back, they've got a 2.5% gradient as they go over one of those little brown splodges on the profile at the bottom. Looking at Casper Hedenham now, he's another one of the Danes in here. I mean, you'd expect this, as I say, there's still 4 Danes in that top 10, which is pretty impressive, considering now we're having this sort of filtering out and you're getting down to 23 in the front group. to be in the top 10, it's pretty strong. A couple of Ratio riders coming up on the side there, and it is the Van Beurs brothers. It's almost reminiscent of the Schlecks, isn't it? Schlecks and Sheppers, another Ratio rider on the front here. The Belgian Joris Sheppers still on the front. Per Soderberg chasing him down. Arvad in third position. Anthony Dubray, Christophe Quentin, Fuglsang, Gomberg, Simons, Horgaard, Jorgen Van Beurs, Brand making up the top 10. Wouter Claes in 11th. So this filtering itself down. There are gaps here. You can see them visually. I don't think that they are big enough with 24 kilometres to go to worry anybody unduly. I think the peloton will kind of watch the people on the front, and it's probably the effect of the hard riding on the front is only dropping people off the back. But this is what the top riders will want, and this is the tactic. We've seen this evolve over the years in it's Martin Fuglsang, Fuglsang. I'll get it right one day, and it's probably still wrong. So Fuglsang is dropping back, so I can drop him from the commentary. We can talk about Simons riding for OTR there in the familiar. It's Tony Simons riding for OTR in that familiar white shirt with the black and green. Similarly, Moon Riders have a variant of those colours. Fuglsang comes on the top, just to make me pronounce his name again. But I think Fuglsang is probably where I'm going to sit, and I shall the emails after the event telling me how wrong I was. Dubray is 17th in this group. Fantastic angles you get in there for us, Damon. Thanks very much. Logged out and come back in. I hope the silence wasn't too bad. In fact, you might have welcomed it. Who knows? Let's pick up with the race. Luckily not a key part of the race, I hope. Although it does seem spread out at the front. Great photography again, Damon. Fuglsang at the front again. Love this shot. Absolutely fantastic. As they come through. Now, this is quite split at the front, isn't it? It's not packed together like a peloton. 45 kph, still with 22 kilometres to go. This is quite a high pace for something that is only about a quarter of the way through. So I think this is going to thin out more and more and more. We can see that 7 off the front now. And this is Joris Sheppers, Rasmus Feldball, Christophe Quentin, Anthony Dubray, Jorgen Van Beurs and Wouter Claes. And one other, I think it's... Fuglsang, of course. I was trying to avoid saying his name, obviously. So these 7 now have got a good 30 metres ahead of everybody else, and that That is quite telling. I don't think, I'm not sure that they'd really want to thin it down much more than this at this stage of the race, because if you end up with a very small group, it's going to be quite hard work. But if you look how strung out it is clearly having some sort of effect. We're looking at Rasmus Feldball in third place there, but it's Wouter Clays and Joris Scheppers at the front. I think this 7 might just be coming back together. I mean, in my view, they'd be better off working together at least for a couple of laps, because you can see visually the gap behind them at 30 metres isn't massive. And in fact, Simons is bringing that down to 20 odd metres. So I think Simons could get back on. Simons clearly is not being followed by the rest of the peloton, though. He's got quite a big gap back to maybe more than 20 metres back to the other guys. So in truth, but again, they're not really working together, are they? This is a little bit ragged. It's competitive, and that's great. 2 Moon Riders in there, a couple of Ratio Racing's. Brandt in 9th now. He's out ahead of the other guys behind him. Keith Aitchison I see coming up with Per Sodersberg, a couple of OTR riders. Clearly they are not going to bridge that gap now. Christophe Con at 8th place is now 100 metres ahead. So that is that. We've got the split. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think you just get little mini, separate pelotons, have separate races. You find yourself in the right group by natural selection. Anthony Dubray is in the lead at the moment. This little group, it's 8 now. As we say, we did have to catch up from Simons. So we've got this group of 8. They're a bit more bunched now, apart from Anthony. And I suspect they are probably going to have to accept that they're going to have to ride round with each other probably for at least the next lap. 20 kilometres to go. It's not the time to go solo, certainly in my opinion. The guys racing and you watching may have different opinions, but I think I would try and sit in this group. And if anything, I mean, depends whether this ends in a bunch sprint or not, but if it looks like it, then hopefully you're looking at tiring out some of your group. But how much you want to go on the front, I'm not sure right now. Trouble is, if nobody goes on the front, the group behind could catch them. Although at 130 metres, well, I think that's probably a tall order. Anyway, Joris Scheppers, as he's done earlier in the race, going off the front and forcing a gap. I don't think he's going to sustain that. And if he does, can he hold it for 19 kilometres? Probably not. Let's see what happens. The others do respond, though, don't they? I mean, I suppose I don't know how much team tactics go on. I know the Ratio guys definitely speak to each other on the radio whilst they're racing, and I'm sure all the other teams do the same. Whether or not it's not quite the same as a sort of professional racing team where you're sort of racing for one rider. I mean, it might be during a series where you clearly got somebody who needs to get some good points for your team, a teammate who can win the series. I think this early in the series, it's probably less so. I don't know. If you think that these teams are already working around one rider, you can message us and put a message on the board if you like. I suspect not. I think that happens later. Nevertheless, I mean, if you look at the guy on the front, Wouter Clays, I think Moon Riders would probably see him as a key player and one that they would expect to do well. So whether or not Moon Riders would rally round and fight the course of Wouter, I'm not sure, but wouldn't be a bad move if they did, would it? But of course, everybody's got their own personal aspirations. So as I say, it's not professional cycling. You can't compel somebody to do something or they'll lose their contract. So it is what it is. So we've still got 19 kilometres back. We're on lap 2, of course. We've done 10. We're coming up to about halfway round lap 2 at the front of this race. And it's whittled itself down quite early, hasn't it? I mean, it's not going to... It's 8 now. I think they go through the halfway stages, as I was just saying. I think these 8 now, my guess is that you'll probably see these 8 together, or at least 7 of them, by the end of this lap. And we're doing 39 kph, 40 kph. For these guys, that's not necessarily fast. It's Probably seems fast if you're further back in the pack, but it's for these guys that's manageable. Of course, distance comes into play here, doesn't it? If you're going to ride 30 kilometres, you're not going to do it at 15 kilometre race pace. So again, it's all relative, and of course we're all doing this for fun anyway, aren't we? So it's if you can't keep up with them, just find yourself a little peloton back, further back, and have a little race. It's fantastic after some of these races how the little jewels pan out, and certainly in my own West London races, some of the best sprint finishes have been in packs further back rather than the actual leading one. Now this is Group 2. We've got Bob Kohlberg there, Brandt, Sabo, and Daniel Sorensen, Thun, Bjornstein, Per Soderberg is not in that group. I'm reading the wrong one, aren't I? Sorry. Yes, he is. Sorry, I beg your pardon. So we're at 20th. So we're in the second. Yeah, we are in the second group. Quite a few Danes in there. Casper Hedderden, probably someone I would have expected to have made that first group, but maybe not on this occasion. Tony Simons there in that group as well. Don't forget, it's Lorenzo Simons in the first group, the man who made the catch up. We're watching Sabo. Somebody going up the inside there. It's Daniel, isn't it? And sneaking up the side there. Kohlberg just using the steering here. Everybody going on the inside, and that's what you want to do on these races. So you are looking at the front group on your left again. And so this group of 8, as I say, my prediction is they are going to be pretty much together. But it looks like Rasmus Feldborg might have fallen off that group a bit. You can see him just in the background there. That might be a group of 7 already. It's come on, Rasmus, you need to get back on. It's a Danish race. We need you in the top finishers. Fuglsang and Rasmus being the two that the two Danes, and Rasmus gets back on. Thank goodness for that. Well done, Rasmus. Good to see you. Jorgen van Beur's in there. Obviously left his brother behind. Joris Shepard's, Wouter Claes. Belgium is so strong at this, aren't they? I have to say, I love Belgium, and I was there at the weekend. Unfortunately, not cycling. We've got Joris Shepard and Wouter Claes representing Belgium. Anthony Dubray from France. Lorenzo Simons. We've already mentioned him, haven't we? We've got Rasmus Feldborg and Fuglsang representing Denmark. Jorgen van Beur's from the Netherlands, and Anthony Dubray, a Frenchman. No, I've mentioned him, haven't I? Who have I missed? I don't think I've missed anybody now. But Christophe Contant, so there's 2 Frenchmen. 2 French, 2 Belgian, 2 Danes. And quite an interesting mix here, isn't it? It's, as I say, it's quite exciting, this, isn't it? This group, a little bit splintered here. It's 3 or 4 going off the front. It's looks like, who's off the back? That's Lorenzo Simons off the back, and there's a little bit of a gap back to Lorenzo at the moment. That might be decisive. 2 Moon Riders in the pack, but Lorenzo looks like he might be falling out. One less, but no, look at this. Get in there, Lorenzo. You go for it. That's absolutely it. Go, 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 go. Yes, well done. These chases back are fantastic. Well done, Lorenzo. That was absolutely brilliant. Pulling it back to make sure we've got 8. And my bet that we'd have 8 at the end of this lap is looking safe. 14 kilometres. There's only kilometres to go to the end of the lap. So how much did I bet that there'd be 8 by the end of the lap? Perhaps I didn't actually put any money on it. But yeah, my prediction coming good so far. Nice to get something right for a change. Come on, Anthony. You don't let them drop you off the back. Really pushing it at 44 kph at the moment. It's a minus 2.5% gradient, which is part of the reason be. And you mustn't relax too much on these descents because people actually do attack on them. You can see they're coming down the slope. Now, the riders we're watching will be the blue triangle. If you look at the profile at the bottom, there's lots of triangles where groups of riders are. The blue one is always the one that the camera is on. And you can see we're just coming towards the end of this lap. And my prediction of 8 is now in danger again because Lorenzo Simons is slightly dropping off, and it might just be 7 as we come round to complete the lap. But hopefully Lorenzo will get back on, although it's sneaking out to 25 metres. I'm hoping he does get back on. That gap's getting a little bit big. Come on, Lorenzo, you did it once, you can do it twice. You don't have to take your eye off the ball for long to get dropped. And I got a feeling, I mean, visually at least, it looks like Lorenzo's closing that gap a little bit, isn't it? And it's down to 7 metres. Absolutely classic as we complete the lap. And here we go, Lorenzo's back on. So my prediction that we'd have 8 at the end of this lap is so far so good. So what shall I predict for the end of this lap? Well, I do get the impression that if Lorenzo is having to fight back on twice, eventually that elastic might snap. So I'm going to go for, at the end of this lap, I think there will be 6 left, because I think a couple of people will actually feel the strain of having to fight back on. Remember, if you're fighting back onto a group, you're riding faster than the group is, so you're actually expending more energy to get back on. And I think that takes it out of you if somebody's putting pressure on the front. Interestingly, they're letting Fuglsang go off here. I think this is not a bad move because, sorry, it's Joris Scheppers, I beg your pardon. They're letting Joris Scheppers go off the front. Actually, I think rather than chasing down, maybe just see, just sit there and let him sit out there for a little while, taking all the draft, no draft, should we say, taking the pressure on the front. I mean, obviously, whoever's at the front of the pack is getting the same effect, but they can swap over places at the front. I think I'll just dangle him out there for a little while if I were in the group. But I suspect they won't. Somebody will want to chase him down just in case he gets too far away. I don't think he will with 14 or just under 14 kilometres to go. Let's see what happens. They're closing it down a little bit, I think. As I say, I think this is intuitively what they tend to do. We have seen riders being left out there and left to dangle out the front, but actually then nobody makes up the gap. And in fact, it's Lorenzo Simons, the man I predicted wouldn't be completing the lap, who is out to prove me wrong. And what he's doing, he's making use of this this ascent. And Lorenzo obviously likes the climb and the others don't, because we've just gone up 3.5%. Lorenzo absolutely showing that he can do the hills. Do you live in the Ardennes at all, Lorenzo? It's some nice sharp hills, a lot sharper than that in the Ardennes. Classic riding out in the Ardennes, isn't it? I've done quite a lot of riding in Belgium, both in Flanders and Wallonia, and it is a fantastic country for cycling. I have cycled in Denmark as well, actually. But as I say, maybe Lorenzo just waited for that moment, and it just shows that what's happened. That attack on that ramp, and you remember earlier I said you might get some attacks on some of those ramps, but there's not one that I would have really thought would have made a big difference with the calibre of rider we've got. It seems that it has on lap 3 though, hasn't it? Because we've now got 4 at the front, 30-metre gap back to the others. I think if the others actually work together, and they are close together, they can probably pull that back during the course of that lap. I suspect what we're going to get in lap 4 is where everybody's going to attack, just like Lorenzo did there. So Lorenzo, Anthony Dubray, Joris Scheppers and Wouter Claes in a little group, but I think the others are catching up. Rasmus Feldbull certainly looks like he's got it in him to catch up. Fuglsang, Christophe Contant closing it down, but not quite as emphatically. Jorgen van Beurs may be the victim of this if he doesn't get on the wheel of Fuglsang soon. But he does exactly that. He's getting in there, making the draft. Fuglsang moves over so that he loses the draft. This is the beauty of steering. Fuglsang moves over. They want to go on the inside of the bend because you do get a slight advantage going on the inside of the bend. But also by switching, you take away the draft from the guy behind you. These races are much more tactical than things on Zwift, although I see that Zwift has actually got steering these days. And yeah, Jorgen's having to work hard just to get on the wheel, but he's done the right thing. He's got on the wheel. Let those other two bring him back to the bunch. Just make sure that collectively you don't put too much pressure on somebody, and it never happens. The gap, though, is it's visibly closing, isn't it? I think we're going to get back to our group of 8, and hopefully that will happen. Contant, Jorgen van Beurs and Fuglsang now just trying to get on the back of the group in front of them. So that's what it looks like visually. We count that, I think, as a group of I think it's only 7 though, isn't it? There's somebody, Contant, Maybe it is 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, it's certainly. Yeah, there we are. Jorgen van Persie. It's definitely 8. So, and it looks visually like that's going to come together. I think Jorgen will stay on there. He's certainly got some draft from Christophe Canton at the moment, and he in turn is sitting on the wheel of Fuglsang. And I think, mind you, there's a push on the front. That's opened up again. They're going to have to work, just as they nearly made it. The front group pushed on a little bit, 47 kph, and this is on a very, very slight uphill, 2.5% gradient. It's another one of those little ramps. You can see at the bottom of the blue line going up the ramp as we go through the halfway stage. It's an attack on the front. It wasn't Lorenzo Simons this time, though, because he's in 5th position, and that maybe has been decisive. And now my prediction was 6 left in the group at the end. I think it's going to be less than that, isn't it? It's looking to me as if 5 at the front are going to leave these 3 at some point. They keep attacking on the little brown bits. Now, have a look at the profile at the bottom, which is just this bit off the screen. There's not many little brown ramps coming up. You can see where the blue line is. We're just going up one now, plus 2.7%, although the gap is now closing up a little bit. And I think the guys at the back have managed this ramp quite well to pull themselves back up with the others. We've got one rider off the front, but the rest of... Oh, sorry, that's a back marker that they're going to overtake. I beg your pardon. So the group looking like it's back together with Rasmus Feldball now on the front, and we're back to 8. So my prediction of 6 looking like it's not going to come true. About 3 kilometres to go to the start-finishing line and that last lap. They're going downhill now. You can see the blue triangle going to hit a blue section, so they'll go downhill. You can attack downhill. You can see 4 off the front again. Anthony Dubray, Rasmus Feldball, Joris Shepherd and Wouter Claes, the 4 on the front. Are we seeing the attrition begin to work? And as I say, this could change. That's quite a sharp bend. The braking will come in there, but there's still 4 in that second group. That means if they can make the junction, we get 8 at the finish. I predicted 6. I'm looking wrong. Let's see what happens. They're coming up to the next little brown section. There will be an attack here coming up very, very shortly, I'm sure. But still, these 4 at the back not really making that junction count. They're not really sitting on the wheel. They're having to work to get on. This will be attritionally wearing them down as we hit the next rise, plus 2.2%. Will there be an attack? In fact, actually, the guys at the back seem to relish the little ramps because that's where they seem to catch up and then lose it again as we go under the banner, going around another bend. The brakes will kick in here because it's a sharp bend. Rasmus Feldball in 8th place. He's the man to watch because if he can get into that bunch, we've got the 8 back together. We've got 8 back together. We've got a race of 8 and we are heading towards 2 kilometres away from the start of the last lap. So my predictions of a little bit of a breakdown have gone wildly wrong, and Lorenzo Simons, the man who put that thought in my mind, has steadfastly stayed up the front and is looking really, really strong. Absolutely fantastic. Don't forget, coming up, we've got this Grand Farewell, the ride up the Stelvio. You can see being advertised on your right-hand screen. It's a community ride. I mean, this is for, reminiscing about all the times you've ever done RGT, and this is kind of where it started, one of the early routes. I must admit, I have ridden up the Stelvio in real life. I've never actually done this one. It's on the 31st of October. Look out for that. ECKD will be running through to the end of October. My own West London, which is on Wednesday nights, every Wednesday through to the end of October. And I think between ZMS OTR, ECKD and West London, we've all decided very positively to take this as a celebration of RGT and go out on a bang. And my, is this not a celebration of everything RGT? 8 of them on the front. You can't call it. I got it right on lap 2. I got it wrong on lap 3. By the looks of things, we're closing in. There's not far to go. It's only just about 1k to the end. There's a gentle rise at the moment of this 8, but then it's downhill to the finishing line. People do attack on downhills, but I think this lot will stay together. The big attack will come just after the finishing line, I predict, on that steep bit. We saw it kind of break up on lap 3, and I think that will be the key moment. Let's look out for that as they sort of climb this gentle climb. It's it's easing up there, 1.7%. It's not particularly steep. Remember though, if you've just ridden at 21k at race speed, a little climb like this can suddenly hit your legs. And it looks like Rasmus Feldbull is the one that hasn't really adapted to that gentle climb the best, which doesn't bode well with the steep one coming up. Remember, look on the bottom of your screen, the blue triangle is about to come to the end of the lap. It will then appear on the left-hand side of your screen, and you can see that little red ramp that comes up fairly shortly after the start of the next lap. Rasmus getting back on, but I think the fact that he didn't cope with that that little climb at 1.7% quite as well as the others doesn't bode well for the one near the start of the lap 4, where it will be something like 3.5%. Nevertheless, Rasmus is pulling himself back into the group, which is great. We've still got 8 riders. This is turning out to be a classic race, and it's anybody's shout, isn't it? I mean, this is an all-star list of riders in this 8th group. Who would like to call this one? I don't know. I don't know. I think I know most of the riders in there. I think Lorenzo, in fact, most of those could win this, I think. So I don't think there's a lot to call. You can see the gap now. It's 400, nearly 500 metres back to the groups behind them. Right, we're coming up to the end of lap 3. We've still got 8 riders, so I got that one wrong. Isn't this thrilling? Let's see what happens as soon as they hit that climb. At lap 4, the bell goes, the metaphorical one. Oh, this is, I really can't I can't call this one. I don't know who's going to win this. I've just got a feeling, I think Lorenzo Simons was so good last night. I'm going to put my money on Lorenzo. He was emphatic in the West London race last night. Whether or not that's taken something out of him, I think I'm going to go with Lorenzo Simons as my pick. If you've got a pick who you think is going to win this, or if you've got somebody you want to cheer on, please put a message on the screen now. Who do you want to win? Who do you think will win? This group of 8 have got us absolutely glued to the screen, haven't they? Now we're hitting that little ramp very, very shortly. You can see the blue triangle in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. It's still on the green section, a couple of groups ahead. But that little red section, that rise, that brown and red section is coming up. The gradient at the moment, 0.4%, minus 4%. So it's not, it's just the lull before the storm. This is the easy bit, but again, ever closer to that ramp. Just watch the gradient on your side. Wouter Clay's coming up 3.7%. And here we go. Here's that's an example of it before. It's 3.7% here. Rasmus Feldbull again falling off the top. It's going through one of the bot cameras. Wouter Clay's looks like he's coped with it best as they get almost to the top. There's a little bit more to go. 4.2%. Wouter and Anthony Dubray have got away. I did say this is where I thought the attack would happen. They've got away 50 metres back to Lorenzo Simons. So still a lot of lap to go, 6.6 kilometres. Between these two, though, I think, and particularly Wouter, whom I know a little bit better than Anthony. I've seen Anthony ride a few times. I know Wouter very well. I think these two might have enough to hold off that gap. It's about 40-something metres back to Lorenzo Simons and about another 50 back to the rest of the group. Lorenzo could get on, and the way he rode last night in the West London race, I wouldn't put it past him to catch these two by the end. Nevertheless, they have stolen it on that climb, as we predicted, as we go past one of the back markers. See Morgan there, and well, let's see what happens. It's still about 40 metres back to Lorenzo, isn't it? I don't think he's really cutting it down a little bit. Or maybe he is. And yes, I think Lorenzo. Now he's gonna burn a lot of matches getting up there, but nevertheless, it looks like he's closing it down. 26 metres. This is how he was riding last night. He was absolutely phenomenal last night in the West London race. He's at it again. This will bring it down to 3, which will give us a really exciting sprint finish. 5.25 kilometres to go. Lorenzo's going to get back on, isn't he? Moon Riders took a 1 and 2 in the West London race, and it was these two, Marino Sesson, who's also in this race, came third. Wouter and Lorenzo did a 1-2. And look, you saw Wouter look over his shoulder to see if Lorenzo was coming. Lorenzo got on his wheel. You wonder how much communication is going on here now. Are they going to work against Anthony Dubray? Or did Anthony just sit on their wheels and let them do whatever they want? He's going to take the draft. Anthony doing exactly that at the moment. Nice line though, isn't it, between the two Moon Riders riders. You can do this with the steering. Team time trials are phenomenal on RGT. That's going to be one of the big misses for me. It's absolutely brilliant with the steering. Whatever else you think of the steering. So these three off the front now. This is the group behind. They're probably sort of now going to have to just face the fact that they're not going to catch those front three. And we know what the podium's going to look like. We don't know who will be on each step though. Yet to be found out. As we see Christophe Quentin, Rasmus Feldball there, and Joris Scheppers in that subgroup there, third, fourth, fifth and sixth. So these are the guys who are, well, it's what? It's 170 metres, 4.4 kilometres to go. I don't think they're going to do that. The Calibre rider ahead of them, I think is too strong. Now they've got 50 metres on Vogelsang, who has just behind him got Jorgen van Beurs. That's the remnants of the group of 8. It has fragmented amazingly. Jorgen van Beurs sitting on Vogelsang's wheel. They can see Quentin ahead of them. It's possible they might catch. Lorenzo is my bet too. Thanks. Yeah. Let's see, shall we? We'll go and have a beer together. I don't know where you live, but if we win, we'll go and have a beer together. Wouter Claesen, Lorenzo Simons and Anthony Dubray. So 2 votes so far for Lorenzo Simons. This may or may not be the case. And look, clearly working with Wouter there because he's taken a turn on the front. We'll have to see. Anthony Dubray is probably wondering whether he needs to do something special or they've got a plan cooked up. Of course, a lot of these riders know each other quite well because they race all the time. I suspect Anthony's probably in some sort of trepidation that he's being pincered by the two Moon Riders who've got a plan to make sure he doesn't win. But I often think for all the lead-out trains you see in sprints, you can actually, there's plenty of sprinters who can sit on another team's wheel, almost like a parasite or a cuckoo, and take the wheel and still win. So don't write off on Anthony Dubray yet. Right, this group, this second group now, have got a clear 80 metres on Vogelsang and Jorgen van Beurs, who've got about 330 metres on Daniel Koberuk, Casper Hedenham, Keith Aitchison there. So I think we've got the groups decided. 3 kilometres to go with these three. There's a little bit of cat and mouse. Nobody knows what else everybody else is going to do except the two Moon Riders guys who are speaking together. Just a reminder of the course here, 7.5 kilometres. That's where it starts. That's where we're going to finish as well. It goes around this sort of kind of lake and wooded area, fairly flat, but those little ramps that we've seen on the profile. It's four laps of this, and as I say, that's you see the 2 sharp bends on the main road. Do you remember those where I mentioned the braking kicks in? It's quite good to put those in. It depends whether you want a smooth race or you actually want a little bit of an obstacle there. But that braking will affect the race. It's more obvious if you're riding than if you're commentating it, as we said. So these guys are going through some of the back markers. Crampton there, one of them. Dubray, Simons and Clays. How many more times will we say that in the next 2.3 kilometres? So they're on a little bit of a gradient at the moment, 3.7, but they've all managed the gradients so far. So I'm not thinking this will really. If you do attack here, it's going to work if somebody's tired rather than because tactically you were sort of probably stronger on climbs than them. It's my view. It might be that the reason they're tired is they're not as competent on the climbs, but I think these 3 riders can stay with each other, and it'll be fatigue rather than ability, which affects anybody on one of those climbs. As we watch Group 1 and Group 2 again. Group 1 now, under 2 kilometres from the finish, just over 2 kilometres for Group 2. You can see them passing back markers, of course. Don't get confused by the presence of back markers. It sometimes looks like there's somebody else in a group, but it is a back marker. There's some debate as to whether back markers should latch themselves onto groups and take the draft. I don't particularly mind it. Some people do. I would certainly not condemn it if it were in one of my races. You might have a view on that. So we've had only 2 votes, mine and Yao, who came in and agreed with me that Lorenzo is probably the most likely winner. And running out of road now. It's about it's under 1.5 kilometres for the front group, so we really need to focus on them and see how this one pans out. I mean, the second group, if we can flash by as soon as the first group finish, we might get a view of their sprint as well. But this is the one that's going to matter. Now to Clays and he's the fourth, the Danish rider they're going past. Just look at the speed difference, and I'm sure that Norgaard's riding quite fast, but these guys, 35, 36, they're not. This is by their standards a little bit, I think, cat and mousey. I don't think they're really pushing it. It is a 1.7% gradient at 36 kph, and I suspect it's going to speed up just as they hit the top of the ramp. You look at the blue triangle at the bottom, you'll see that it's about to go over the top, and it's downhill to the finishing line. So 35, slight gradient. I think everybody's just saving their legs a little bit. There's no point racing off the front. You're not going to be caught by the second group at 150 metres behind. If you go off the front now, you're not going to create a big gap at this point. So everybody working out when they're going to do it. Now, 750 metres to go. It depends what sort of rider you are. Of course it does. And some people will go at 500, some people will go at 200, and some people will sit on a wheel tilt an even shorter distance. My guess is, knowing the 2 moon riders here, I've got a feeling one of them at least will go on about 300 or 250 metres to go. I don't know what Anthony will do, but Wouter and Lorenzo certainly like to give it a kick, and I think it's going to happen very soon. We're under 300 metres. Wouter certainly going over that side, gets out the saddle and gives it a push. It's Wouter Clays really going for it. 190 metres to go. Lorenzo stands up, so prediction of Lorenzo winning was probably false. It was Wouter Clays tonight. Maybe it was his turn tonight after Lorenzo's last night. Wouter Clays takes it. Anthony Dubray sits up. Lorenzo just pedals in. So my prediction was third. I should have done an each way bet. Rasmus Feldball has pulled out 30 metres on Joris Sheppers and Christophe Contant. In fact, Joris Sheppers have pulled away from Christophe, so Joris Sheppers gets a clean win. It's about 10 metres ahead of Christophe. Jorgen van Beurs and Fuglsang are the finishing. That's the group of 8. They're 500 metres back to the next group, and Daniel there is going to come in. If I say next group, he's clearly on his own because he's 600 metres ahead of the next group. So he's probably been riding quite a bit solo on his own for quite a while. And that's it does take it out of you. I know this from riding this platform myself. So here he is. You can see the finishing line, and that will be the end of that. Under it's about 75 metres to go. Well done, Daniel. So the next group, full of Danes by the looks of it. Tony Simons, Brandt, Kopperberg, Casper Heddenham, all coming in. Bornstein as well. Bjornstein. Here's Bornstein at 10th. He's not even in that group, is it? In fact, they're quite splintered, aren't they? There's not going to be too many bunch sprints by the look of it. Maybe the next group, Casper Heddenham's group, looking like they're on similar sort of distance back. So Keith Aitchison in there. See what happens. It's his, as I say, it's Bernstein at 10th is 30 metres ahead. With 200 metres to go, it's not impossible that the group behind him could close that down. In fact, it's not as big as it was, is it? And you can sort of see the finishing line is within sight. So I think he's got enough ground to do it. But let's just keep on him. He's going to get it. It's Kohlberg has come round. He's split out that group absolutely superbly. And Horgaard has been pipped from 11th to 12th, right at the death there. This does happen. It's tendency, if you do sit up too much and not watch, somebody behind can sneak up on you. if you're not paying attention. So here's the top 10 results. It's Wouter Clays, as we saw. Anthony Dubray having to settle for second despite a gallant sprint. Lorenzo sitting up, letting his Moon Riders colleague take the point. In fact, I don't know if this was an arrangement, because Lorenzo took it last night with Wouter Clays sat back. Rasmus Feldball taking fourth place. Joris Shepherd's fifth. Christophe Contant sixth. Jorgen van Berg seventh. Martin Fuglsang eighth. Irama Daniel riding all alone in ninth. Niels Bjornstein at 10th. It was terrific little result that as well. So that's your top 10. I'm not sure what else we can do. I'm going to have to call it a day, because I have to go and ride. That's why I'm all kitted out like this here in the garage, ready to ride. I need to log out and get into that. An RGT race, of course, because we're all going to enjoy it massively during the last month, aren't we? So we shall see you. The ECKD will be back Tuesday and Thursday next week. West London, it's my one. This will be back next Wednesday, and for 3 Wednesdays until RGT disappears. ECKD, I think, every Tuesday and Thursday. And don't forget that 31st of October sort of reunion farewell ride up the Stelvio. That's going to be massive. There's a lot of entries already, so look out for that one. And if you want to know where we're all going to IndieVelo. West London, certainly. We've been running a Monday night race on there since July, and that's going very, very well. So if you want to race Monday nights, we call it Monday Malarkey, and we'd love to see you on there. It's full of RGT faces, and there'll be even more RGT faces on that platform. IndieVelo is the place to go. Thank you very much to ZMS and ECKD. ECKD for putting on the race, ZMS for putting on the production. We'll see you soon.